in. There's only Claire and Martin at the moment, but we can give everyone else maybe 5 minutes after.
Yeah, I might just chat to everyone for a few minutes anyway, just because I know them both as well. So yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll let them in then. Right, pushing the button now.
Okie dokie. Hello. Martin, Claire, how you doing?
Hello, stranger. How are you?
I'm very well. How about yourself?
Calm.
Calm. Good. Still calm. I've been.
Oh yeah.
Keep seeing you popping up on LinkedIn, doing another calm cast sort of thing.
So, calm cast. I like that phrase.
There you go. Sure.
I can go now. I've got what I
need. Brilliant. So yeah, that's what I've been sort of saying to myself, doing another calm cast. Beautiful. How are you, Martin?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. I am loving that beard. That's proper cool.
Yeah, I'm growing it out again.
It looks so well on you.
Got full Santa for Christmas.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. So I'm just going to give another minute, maybe, just to see if anybody else is going to join, and I'll sort of kick off on this. But I appreciate you guys joining, and yeah, perfect. So what have you guys been up to, Claire? Just sitting calmly.
Oh, just turning up on LinkedIn at 7:45 every morning. I think that's enough, Dave.
I think the consistency is very impressive.
Yeah, it's just part of my day now. So
brilliant.
I don't get many live watches, but I get lots, like, throughout the day. People pick it up.
Yeah.
There now. And I've got a new kind of 21 days to feel calm and think clearly experience where people get a 3-minute email every day.
Excellent.
A 3-minute video email every day.
I love it.
21 days. So
yeah, brilliant. And then did you do Michael Neal's advanced stuff?
Yeah, I'm on that. I didn't do last night, so I need to catch up on that. But yeah, I've done that this last couple of weeks. It's been fab.
Brilliant.
Heard some new things.
Good stuff. We'll have to have another one-to-one, and you can tell me.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, awesome. So let me get started then, because there's quite a bit that I wanted to kind of cover and share and stuff like that. So well, you guys sort of know me anyway, which is wonderful, because I get to maybe do this a little bit differently. So what I'm going to really cover today is just 9 principles of all successful businesses, really. And there's about 60 minutes worth of content here, and I'm going to share a lot of stuff, but I'm not really going to be telling you like what to think. That's not how I sort of work. It's more about sharing some foundational thinking and helping you how to think about some of the business problems and stuff. So it's about sort of niggly business problems and getting clarity and answers, and help making changes that you want to make in your life and in your business, really. So let me share my slides. I work out how to do that. Share. So I just wanted to just clarify where I'm working at the minute, because people keep asking me whether or not I'm a life coach, a business coach, a mentor, a consultant, where I'm sort of playing in that place. And the truth is, while I don't have a name for this, I'm working right in that sort of core center space that I don't have a name for it, but I'm not a life coach, I'm not a business coach, so I'm sort of a hybrid of all 3 of them. So, but if you do have a wonderful title for that, I would love to hear what I might call myself, because that would be so useful to sort of help people get their head around it. But today I'm sharing some stuff around 9 core principles about how businesses sort of work. So, but what qualifies me to sort of share this stuff with you? And there's two real core reasons, really. Two things that I've studied and I find immensely interesting. The first one is all about business and leadership, and how businesses work and operate and how they create and capture value for their customers. And then the other one is people, what makes people tick, what gets them out of bed in the morning, their hopes and dreams, and how to change or do change work with them so they can get more of what they want and less of what they don't want. And where I really like to play is by helping either business owners or people which are thinking about starting a business, kind of bring these two things together so they can get more outcome faster and they don't feel as lonely and there's less pitfalls and stuff. So I have a big sort of vision though, for the future, really. And it's really a world full of people doing exactly what they were born to do and being fulfilled by doing it. And in this vision for the future, there's no such thing as work, and everyone is really living for a living. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is motivate and inspire and educate people to realize that there's no such thing as work-life balance, there's only life. And it's really integration, not separation, that we need if we want people to have more life in their life. And it's not always about setting up your own business, but about doing work which is intrinsically motivating and important for you. So that's where I'm coming from. So as I talk about some of these principles today, that's essentially what I'm trying to convey through that message. I sent out a little bit of pre-work on this stuff. And one of them was this sort of little table and stuff like that. Have you guys seen that? Have you had access to it? If you haven't seen that, you might just want to copy this down, or at least have the numbers 1 to 9 on a scrap of paper or something, because I will refer to them as we go along, and we're going to kind of follow this in a specific order. The reason I'm drawing it in this box format is because there's a set of relationships between these boxes which are super important if you want to make businesses really, really work and be really successful in that sort of place. So each of the slides are numbered, so you'll see which box we're sort of working on, but I'll sort of remind you. And what I'll say is, when there's some specific questions that need to be answered in each of these boxes or specific content, I'll refer back to them and make some suggestions about what you might want to capture as well. So I'd like to start with some guidelines our businesses, and this is really, really part. It sort of frames a lot of the stuff that we're going to start. So fundamentally, business is an exchange of value with somebody. Now, typically the customer gets a product or a service, and the provider gets money. And that's a very basic way of thinking about it. And that's predominantly what most people sort of get out of business. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can actually be an exchange. I mean, if you think about what we did before money, it's the same sort of principle. It's the exchange of value. And that's a really important idea to have in your head as we go through this. Another idea which is really useful for thinking about sort of is what problem are you solving? Because most people are trying to outsource a problem that they've got. They either don't want to do it themselves, but they have the skills, or they don't have the skills, they don't have the time. But essentially, it's a problem. This one is about the laws. So we have laws in countries, but business doesn't have sort of laws around it other than you need to set your accounts at a specific date. But so it's all to play for. There's no real rules. You can make it up, really, is what I'm saying in that space. And there's approaches, not formulas. Now, when people say there's 12 steps to this or 6 steps, I think it's absolute nonsense. There's 6 steps or 7 steps or 12 steps for them. That's what the process that they went through. It was their formula, but it's not the formula. And my encouragement is not to sort of think about, oh, if I just do these 12 sort of steps, it'll work. It isn't going to work like that. But there are approaches that work. That's what we're going to talk about today. The other thing is, when we talk about strategy and business strategy, what most people don't appreciate, that most of it, if not all of it, is based on a hypothesis. If there's stuff that you either don't know or you suspect you might know, But if you want to build a strategy, it's got to be based on something, and that's called a hypothesis. You cannot sort of really build on a strategy without that hypothesis for the future. We're all emotional creatures. Is the next one. We like to think that we're all logical and cognitive, but the truth is we are really emotional sort of creatures, sort of like feeling creatures that think, not the other way around. And when it comes to business, that's really important to sort of understand and work with. A lot of people get really uncomfortable about money and the sales aspects of business, but I believe that if it feels like sales, if it feels like you're selling something, you're doing it wrong. It shouldn't feel like that. People like to buy, they don't like to be sold to. So that's part of making it really easy for people. Think about that. The other is you as an individual, you're the asset. You show up in your business every single day. If your energy isn't good, that's going to impact everything that you do. So the customers, the people that you work with, your suppliers, you've got to manage your own energy in that sort of space and look after yourself. This model that I'm going to show you, that there are parts of it that the customer will not see. They will never see any of it, and that's a good thing that they don't see. But I don't want you I want you to know that they will still feel it, because the customer is having an experience of doing business with you, and that end-to-end experience is going to be felt. So whatever's going on in the back room of the business is going to translate to something that's going to impact the customer. That's really important to think about. And then the one is, my concern is just to be bold. There's no failure. Fail fast, learn from it, and move on. Just get the feedback about it. It's not personal. So just learn from it. And I think that there isn't any failure from my perspective, the way that I define it, as long as you've learned something and know how to apply that in the future. So that's 10 useful guidelines, which will sort of like permeate as we go through the rest of this slide deck. So number one, it's all about the value proposition. And, it's really about being clear about what's, as the business owner, what value you are bringing to the party on this one. And the interesting thing is, well, in fact, let's just take them up just by defining what value really is, because this is a little quote that I found online, or a definition really. The regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And if you deconstruct this, is something is held to deserve. So if you can hold it, you can also put it down. So it's not a permanent thing. And it's all about importance or worth or the usefulness of something. And that also talks about relativity as well. So nothing's fixed in this space. It's all to play for. Now that's really important. So the analogy I wanted to sort of bring was if you was to go to the supermarket and buy a bottle of water, you might spend 30 pence. If you was at the train station W.H. Smith, you might spend £1.30 on a bottle of water, because you can't get it from anywhere else. At £2, yeah, £2. And even more at the airport. But how much would you be willing to spend on a bottle of water if you was in the desert and you've been there all day? Its value has increased massively. So it's all about perspective, and it's all about the context in which the value is sort of delivered for people. And here's the interesting thing, right? It's not actually the water that the person wants. It's actually to be less thirsty. So we're not actually selling bottles of water. We're selling not thirsty, or what are well hydrated. Maybe that's the right way of putting it. But so it's what's on the other side of the products that's really important. Now, there's a classic Harvard Business Review article which gives an example of a business selling drill bits. Nobody wants a drill bit. That's not an aspiration for people. People want a hole in the wall. In fact, nobody really wants a hole in the wall. They want to hang something up. They want to hang a picture up. Do you know? So actually sell the possibility of hanging a picture. The likeliest is a picture of something which is going to make you feel good or connect to your loved ones or something else like that. That's what you sell. So you're not selling the water, it's what's on the other side. And the product or the service is really just the means of delivery, really. So that's the bit that needs to go in box number one. So what's on the other side of the product or service? Box number two, it's all about the customer segmentation or segmentations, really. Now, most people that they always wonder, like, where's the demographic or what's the industry and stuff. And that's definitely useful. But I think a more useful way of thinking about it for businesses which are really successful is to get the psychographic. Remember I said that one of the principles or the guidelines was where people are emotional. It's been understanding that emotional connection, that psychographic for people. Now, I chose this image because I think it's fair to assume that all these people are sat there considering their closeness to each other. They're all friends and they must all be of a similar sort of age group or something else like that. But check out the footwear. There's some similarities, but there's some differences there. You can see that there's some Converse and then there's some sort of like Nike trainers and things like that. But then you've got this person at the front, which I'm assuming is a dude. He's got some brown sort of shoes on, made leather. There's different people, but they're all friends. So it all depends on who you're sort of marketing to and stuff like that. And it really comes down to, I believe what businesses are doing that successfully is really getting in touch with that psychographic, really. Now, the thing is I coach people and I could say, well, I can coach anyone, which is the truth. I could coach anyone on anything, but the real challenge is that no one identifies as anyone. That's the big problem in business. No one identifies as anyone. So if we're going to sort of like create something, we've got to get into their mindset and their understanding that they look at it and they think, holy shit, this was made for me. This is perfect for me. This fixes the problem that I've got or the story that I'm wanting to tell or something else like that. And it's about how it makes them feel. It's all about getting into their identity. So what great businesses are doing really, really well is they're building a clear view of the identity or identities if there's more than one customer type of who it is. And there's sort of 7 sort of questions here that really we need to answer if we want to sort of be creating something for somebody, or not necessarily creating it, but positioning it for them. So we need to understand their hopes and their fears, their pains, concerns, their hang-ups, the stuff that they've got going on in the basement for themselves, to their preferences. And we need to understand what they like to read and watch and what they like to do for fun. And by taking the time to do this work, it makes doing business so much easier in all other areas, because it all stems from who you're doing it for. And that's what businesses which are really successful really, really nailed, that they're very, very clear who they're serving and what they're doing there. So you can get these. This is just something I got from gamestorming.com. It's an empathy model and stuff like that. It's got the same sort of questions that I put up on the previous slide, but it's just in a nice infographic, which makes it easier to sort of like organize your own thoughts and consume and stuff like that. But essentially taking the time to fill this in, it's going to make the ship go faster, and it'll feel that you're not doing anything for a while you're planning this stuff up, but it will make you go so much faster. So that's all number 2, is make sure you got a very clear view of the identity of the individual that you're serving, or individuals. The next area is about channels. Now, channels is all about how the customer becomes aware of, purchases, and then gets hold of whatever the product or the service really is. That it's essentially what connects that initial value proposition with that customer and their identity. Without this channel, it doesn't happen. And thought needs to be given to all of this. Now, just to give you an example of sort of channels. So personally, I was coaching face-to-face before COVID. And then COVID happens and I couldn't see people face-to-face. My channel of delivering my product or service had sort of disappeared. So I looked at a new channel and did it online. I guess it's perfectly simple, but the message within that is if you've only got one channel, you're open and you're exposed a little bit. There's something to think about. But when it comes to channels, there's a number of different areas, 5 different, I guess, ways of thinking about channels all the way. And the successful businesses have got an answer in each one of these 5 areas. So how do they create awareness as a channel? You know, is it websites? Is it ads, posters, sponsorships, or is it physical stores? And then also they help their customers evaluate before they make an actual decision. So a try before you buy. You know, when we're looking at software, you know, there's you can take this package or this package, and some of them have competitors as well. They make it that easy. They offer guarantees, and it's all about de-risking the purchase. Just so remember that the customers are emotional creatures, so they want to de-risk the doing the business and sort of wasting the money and stuff like that. The next area is purchasing. Now, how do the people purchase? I mean, you can buy it online, or is there an app? Is it cash only? Is it a subscription service? You've got to have the answer worked out. And I just wanted to tell you this story. So there's a wonderful pub near me, and I live in quite a rural area. There's a wonderful pub, but the person who owns it only wants to take cash. But I don't have a lot of cash. Not that I drink loads and loads of beer, but I don't have loads of cash if I want to buy a few rounds and stuff like that. And it's in walking distance. But if I have to go into the cash machine, I have to get in the car and drive to the cash machine. But then I have to drive past a pub, which is just as nice. So where am I going to go? So while it's a wonderful, quaint experience, but a lot of the time he's missing out because he's insisting that it's cash only. So that's a real challenge for that. I haven't plucked up the courage to talk to him about that yet, by the way. There's his delivery. So how does it get delivered? So how does somebody actually physically or otherwise get hold of this? You know, is it a collection service? Is it an instant download? Does it come gift wrapped? And is it personal delivery like flowers or something else like that? And then there's the after sales. And this is when most people forget about it, but great businesses don't. That they're thinking about that after sales experience where they give you something, or there's a process. It's not a transactional experience. There's something that's going on much deeper there. Now, the interesting thing is that the channels area is an amazing place to look for how you can be unique for the customer and create something different. Now, if you think about sort of like pizza delivery, so when I was a kid, you couldn't get a pizza delivered. You had to kind of go to the shop, but then you can get pizza delivered. And now you can get Amazon same-day delivery, you know, and you can get anything delivered, you know, on the same day. And you know, the original picture about Uber Eats, you know, it's not just pizzas now, it's anything. So they've taken that channel and said, well, why can't it apply to other things? Do you know, if people want things delivered like that, well, why does this have to be limited to pizzas? Why can't it be delivered? So thinking about channels is a massive way to open up new markets and new ways to differentiate yourself in the mind of the customer and stuff like that. And that's what great businesses do really, really well. So there's a couple of questions that I think are really useful here. So which channels do our customers want to use? And then from an internal running, but what channels are the most cost effective? And then how does it fit with the customer's life? And then the important bit is, how does it fit with their life now? And how does it fit with their aspirational life, what they want to be doing and living and stuff like that? And how can you help create that? It's when new opportunities are opened up. The next area of focus for great businesses is the customer relationship. And this is so important because, like I said, the customers are emotional creatures. It's how they feel about it that makes such a difference here. And there are 4 sort of stages of that you sort of move customers through, which will interest me. And as you move them through the stages, the level of emotional investment kind of goes up. So I like to think about it as like making more deposits into the emotional bank account. So how do you sort of like increase that? So the 4 phases, is a prospect. This is at this point, there's an idea, a possibility that somebody with an identity might want to have or get hold of your product or service. And when you know that their existence and that they exist, they become a lead. And then you turn leads into customers, and then customers into fans. And it's all about increasing that sort of emotional connection. And it's such an important element, is this, because I think I've heard it say, it's 21 times easier and cheaper and faster to sell to an existing customer than it is to attract a new customer. And that's massive. So if you're stopping at the customer stage and you're not working to turn them into fans, then you're missing out massively. And if you, just in a simple example like Apple, you sort of like buy into the Apple ecosystem, and then you want a watch, and then an iPad, and then you want another MacBook, and then there's another phone coming out, and you sort of, and then there's this new EarPods and stuff like that. You sort of buy in, and you're a fan, you're buying stuff. And it's same with authors, when you can pre-register for a book before it comes out, because you already bought and it's going to be great. And it happens on movies too. You know who the actor is, they're a great actor, and you're just going to watch the movie even before you know what it's about, just because they're in it and stuff. So the other thing that great businesses do is they capture feedback about the customer experience as well, so they can calibrate and make decisions about that as well. So a couple of examples which I think are just awesome. First one is Amazon's and their star ratings. They get instant feedback, not just for themselves, but for the sellers as well. And then you've got Airbnb and Uber. And I think these are fabulous. First of all, Uber ones, because you can rate your ride and the person that drove the taxi, which gives them feedback as well, makes them feel good, but actually helps them differentiate themselves. And then Airbnb does a very similar sort of activity, by facilitating that connection. But because you can rate people both ways, that's useful for both parties. But the great thing is that from an Airbnb point of view, they're not actually having to do any of the hard work of creating customers into fans. It's the actual people which own the properties. That is the sort of level of thinking that when you sort of use this sort of model about it. So some great opportunities there for customer relationships and how you sort of level up. One of the big things that great businesses do differently is they focus on the lifetime value for the client or the customer. They don't think about the instant transaction. They understand that there might not be a customer today, they might not get a sale today, but if they keep adding value, the customers will come back. So they really get it. It's always a no for now. So when they understand that if they can get them to sell, to buy just one thing, and they can get use out of that and valuable, then they'll actually take on more and more stuff. So it's really important. Section number 5 is all about the key activities. The key activities that you need to do for your business to actually work. And when I say key activities, it literally comes down to these. What are the most important things that you have to do that if you didn't do them, the business would not work? Now, if you think about an archway made of bricks, if you used to take out one of the bricks, the archway would sort of fall apart. And that essentially is what we're talking about here. So it's not the things like I need to do my accounts, because all businesses need to do that. It's what is it that makes your business work, and what is it that makes your business really, really unique in that space. And it really informs you. Once you can be very, very clear about this, it can really inform you what you should be spending your time on. Lots of times business owners can spend their time sort of like what I call shuffling papers, doing, they're sort of like majoring on minor things, really. But being clear about the key activities really inform you what you should be doing and what should be in your calendar, so you can really, really focus your energy in that space. To give you two simple examples here, if you run a restaurant, there's two really, really key activities there: sourcing ingredients and cooking them. Because if you don't do one of those things, you don't actually have a restaurant, you have a greengrocers. So that's a different value proposition completely and stuff. And a more complex one is Amazon, really. So the way that Amazon sort of works is that they've got the wonderful website, make it easy to find and buy stuff, but then they've got to connect that parcel to a delivery driver. So if they don't maintain their website, put the right things in the right box, and connect you to a delivery driver, the whole wonderfulness of Amazon just falls apart. So it's three key activities that they need to do there. So think about that. And if you look in all the other boxes that we're sort of building up here, one of the things in each of the boxes is going to be a key activity. There's got to be something in that box. If not, you've done the box wrong. If not, there's got to be a key activity in that box. So have a real good look at that. And my last sort of thing that I see that the great businesses doing this, they're using experts. Now, so I thought there was another slide in that, but there's not. Essentially, using experts is just going to give you more bang for your buck. There's no point trying to do everything yourself, especially if it's a key activity. If it's not your core competency, you really need to think about getting somebody else to do it as soon as possible. I know it's not always possible at the beginning, but you really need to think about that. So the next area, number 6, is all about resources, key resources. And essentially the key resources, just the things that you use to do the key activities that deliver the value, that get the value through the channels to the customers. So they're the key resources that we're sort of using. But what does it really mean by resources? So here are just the top ones that I wanted to share, because it's not always obvious what resources really are. So the first one, and the most obvious one, is about money. You need money to buy stuff and to get experts in and things like that. But there's also things like your brand. Your brand is a resource, something you can leverage to move into a new marketplace, to sell a new product, to reach out to people and connect with them as well. Something that's really important. You also have access to data. Even if it's the very basics of a mailing list, you have access to data. That's useful. And we also have systems and processes as well. And then we have access to people, and those people have skills. And then we've got technology from, Zoom to Active Campaign or anything else that we want to use. And places, if we're a baker and we do not have access to our oven, then we're not a baker. The business falls down. So places there. And then two overlooked ones, which I think are really, really important, is energy. There is only so much energy to go around. And they said you cannot sort of put sort of like 10 coins and 11 squares. It just doesn't work. So you're going to really think about where you're going to spend your energy and also your time as well. And one of the big things I want to sort of point out in this area is that you can always get more money. You can always get more money, but you can't get more time. Time is actually the most precious resource that we have, and it's the biggest equalizer, whether or not you've got a huge bank account or not, or you've got a huge business. It's the amount of time that things take, the amount of time that you have. We've all got the same amount of time in that space. So they're the resources that you need to sort of use in there. If Yeah. The other thing about resources, I'll just put that back up, that I was just going to mention, is it's a great place to look for where you're exposed in your business. And great businesses which are successful are sort of like looking to minimize their exposure. So I used the analogy earlier about the cook and the restaurant. If there's a specific individual with specific skills, or there's one technology that only does that, then you are somewhat exposed. You're sort of putting all your eggs in that sort of one basket, and that can be quite dangerous. So it's a useful way of thinking about, where you're overreaching in your business, and that's something that great organizations, have a real good handle on. Number 7 was suppliers. Suppliers are all about helping you get the most bang for your customer, really. So help you create that value proposition. But here's the big thing: don't try to do it all yourself. If you look at all the great organizations that you'll sort of know, they're not doing it all themselves. There are other people and there are other delivery mechanisms that enable it to happen. It's now, I know that when we're starting out businesses, you have to do everything yourself. It's bootstrapping. You have to do everything. But as soon as possible, you need to get other people to start doing stuff, because if not, you just become a bottleneck. And when we talked on the last slide about energy and time, you just get saturated. So get as much as you can get somebody else to do. Yeah, that's what you need to do. A good rule of thumb here is somebody could do it at 80% of the quality that you can do it, you should probably get them to do it, because there'll be things that only you can do in your business, and that's what you need to be focusing on, the things that only you could do. And they're probably hopefully going to be one of your key activities as well in there. I mentioned that, if you try to do it yourself, it is an obstacle to growth in there. I wanted to tell you a story though about taking the supplier relationship to its real extent, and why that can be dangerous as well. So Dell started to get Lenovo, who was little known at the time, to start doing their motherboards in their laptops and their desktop computers. And then they wanted to get them to sort of do another component, and then they wanted them to manufacture and build the entire computer for them. And all the time is that Dell is making their balance sheet look really, really slick and lean, but they were giving everything to Lenovo. But what's happening at this point is Lenovo is learning how to manage suppliers and manage components and build things really, really slick. At which point Lenovo just said, hey, we're just going to launch our own laptop range, because we've learned so much stuff from Dell, and Dell been paying for it. And then Dell now looks at Lenovo as a competitor, but they'd lost so much ground they couldn't catch up. Lenovo are selling more things than Dell. So that's an extreme of going there. But I wanted to, I mentioned that experts will probably do a better job and give you more time back. That's really important. But I wanted to just give you a little example here of really leveraging suppliers. And the examples so current research, 82% of Amazon's customers say that price is a contributing factor to buying things. Now, if you look at the detail, Amazon, while they do their own stuff, they have 1.9 million active sellers. There's something about 6 times more sellers which are not active on Amazon. But sellers create choice, which is wonderful in a way to evaluate something. So they're managing the channels and that process through how they buy. Sellers enable evaluation. I can compare prices and products and features. And they create new revenue streams for them as well, because they charge sellers for the privilege for using the platform as well. And they don't own any vans to Amazon. People, they know they own the big trucks, but they don't have their own vans for delivery and stuff. And the big thing here is that sellers are doing most of the work for Amazon, yet Amazon is the one that comes away looking good, as an overall brand piece. So that's just one of the things that you can, and this is really important, because the customer doesn't actually care about the backstory of, whom did it. They want the outcome for that. Now, there might be some affiliations and some tribes to flat, but predominantly speaking, I don't really care. The customers don't really care about that sort of stuff. It's us that care about where the credit goes. So we need to get over ourselves in that space. So next there is cost structure. So ultimately, cost structures. This is one where people neglect the most in their business, of all sort of sizes and stuff like that. But essentially, you need to know your numbers. I can't emphasize this enough. When I'm coaching business owners, one of the first things is, well, how much does it cost you to create and capture all this value for your customers? And so many people don't actually know. They don't actually know whether or not product A or product B costs more or the other. They don't really know what they're spending the money on and stuff and that. So when it comes to being a really successful business, you need to sort of know these numbers. And it's about viability of your business, but then profitability as well. The more it costs you to run, that's eating away at your profits ultimately. And then it sort of dictates whether or not you raise your prices enough, or how you can be competitive in that space. So it's really, really important, is that one. I created this. It's made up, but it's a useful way of just getting your head around the actual costs for running your business, really. Do you know, understand the product or the service? How much does it cost you for awareness and delivery? The customer relationship stuff, key resources, key activities and relationships. So essentially, each box that we've sort of been talking about so far has a cost associated with it. So understanding what that is really, really valuable in that space. The other piece is having real clarity about the individual products and what it costs to deliver each product is really important as well. Now, just to a little story, so sometimes what we think of as our flagship product actually costs us so much more to deliver, but we've not actually attached an appropriate price on it. So sometimes it's more efficient for the organization to sell the lower end products than it is, you know, to sell some of the high end. So high end ticket items sometimes can cost so much more than the lower end ticket items. And firstly, it's easy to sell a lower ticket item than there's a higher ticket item. So it's really worth, you know, getting in touch with these sort of numbers. And it doesn't have to be exact, but it does have to be pretty damn close. So get as close as you can and take the time to understand that, you know. So revenue streams, this is the sort of like leaving the best for last, because we all love to play here. But organizations which are successful and built to last do this area last, because it's actually all the other elements that go together that actually make this possible for you to actually charge something and then manage it, really. So I'm going to go back to this restaurant analogy to help you sort of see what great businesses are doing that makes this sort of possible, really. The first thing is creating a menu, essentially, for this. And the menu is a wonderful way of understanding and simplifying everything that's going on for the products or the service and what it means to buy. So if you consider the menu, it's dead easy to navigate. It's simple. It's laid out very, very well. It's easy to understand. The choices are clear. You know, I know that there's only 4 salads and soups. You know, the choices are dead clear, and there's no ambiguity about the cost. You know, if I'm unsure and I don't want to look foolish, I'll get into an uncomfortable conversation over how much something's going to cost. I'm probably not even going to engage. So get some real clarity over the costs out there as much as you can. There's a debate, I guess, if you want to call it that, about whether or not you should put your numbers on your website. And I've done loads of research on this, and I can't find a definitive answer about it. It seems to be very clear that it's open to decisions on yourself and choices and stuff like that. But at the point where you're making an offer or the customer's going to buy, they need to be very, very clear at that point. And then it hides the complexity. It doesn't tell you about how long the lobster bisque has been reducing for. That's not really that important for buying the lobster bisque. You either want it or you don't. You know, unless you're going to give it a backstory to make it very clear it's for somebody, then you don't need to do that. The other area around this, the revenues, is sort of lessons from the waiter. So great waiters know exactly what's on the menu. They're not making it up or second guessing. They know how much it costs. And really important, they're really okay with how much it costs. You cannot be uncomfortable about how much it costs. They know what it tastes like, and they know what's in it as well, so they can give you some advice and talk around it. And they know what it goes well with, so that they can help you decide. And they're okay with it, because if you choose to buy something else or order something else, because they're not eating it, you are, and they're really comfortable with that. So this is sort of the key to not making it feel like sales. It's about helping them choose from the menu and being okay if there's nothing that they want to eat or they want to choose something else, because you're not the one eating it. But it's all part of that experience that they're going to have, and they'll tell other people about it. So they're the sort of 9 areas which all great successful businesses are really nailing. And that's each individual. But the really important piece is this. It's about their relationships to each other and how they connect. So you can see the value proposition connects to the channels to the customers, and the customer relationships and channels all come down to the revenue streams as well. You know, the more the customer loves you and becomes a fan, it's going to increase the revenue. Key activities are definitely required for the value proposition, and the key resources enable you to do the key activities, and the key resources cost you money. Suppliers cost you money. And then ultimately, your business is viable and profitable on the basis of the last 2 boxes here, the relationship between the cost structure and the revenue stream. If your revenue stream is higher than the cost structure, you've got a viable business. And if it's lower, then you don't. And that's why it's so important to know your numbers. But if you want to become more profitable as a business, essentially you're lowering your costs or increasing your revenue streams. So having this as a model is a wonderful way to actually, I guess, navigate and decide what needs to be done and how you're creating that amazing business and experience and stuff there. There's a lot of white space around the outside of this. And that's the purpose, because nothing exists in isolation. Do you carve something out of nothing in this? I think there is a context, and the context predominantly is you as the business owner. It's what you bring to the party. It's your authenticity. It's your challenges, your hangups, your relationship with money. It's the feelings of overwhelm and isolation, and so like sometimes feeling like an imposter and all that sort of stuff in there. So yeah, that's where that context piece comes in. So they're all the slides. I'm just going to stop sharing at the moment. So let me ask you a quick thing. Was that valuable? Have you extracted some value out of that sort of stuff, and how to maybe go about doing your own business stuff? Whack it in the chat, or you can just unmute and say yes or no.
Aye, it's made me think.
Good stuff. So thanks, Shane.
It's
So
always good.
amazing. So I have a little program which I am putting out there to see if it might be useful. Do I have your permission just to tell you a little bit about it just for 5 minutes? Can I just have a thumbs up, or literally take 5 minutes? Thank you. So let me share my screen. Why is that not open? Oh, 1 second. Yeah. Here we go. You see, so I'm putting this program together. I'm calling it the Entrepreneur's Dilemma because the last couple of years of doing support for business owners, there's sort of 7 areas that I've sort of come up with time and time again where people are struggling in the business and it's really holding them back. And it's real sort of niggly areas for business owners. So I'm putting this program together. It's a 7-week program. It's nice and short, which to help people essentially look at the possibilities that are right in front of them for their business and avoid some of the pitfalls. And like I said, sort of get out of their own way. And, you know, because it can be stressful and lonely and you can sort of tell yourself all kinds of stuff, which is negative. And essentially just to help people create more value and profit in their own business there. So running it as a group program. It's for 3 sort of people, really. You know, people which have started the business in the last few years and wanted to flourish and go faster. People which, you know, have been made redundant and wondering, well, maybe there's something else I could do differently in that space. Or people which are just really don't like what they're doing in their life and they would like to explore doing something completely and utterly different. So sort of like showing them how to do that in that space. So how the program works, so starting on the 3rd of June, the welcome call for 90 minutes, where I'm going to go deeper on some of the things that we've talked about today and really kind of kickstart that journey. And then for each module for 7 weeks, we're going to look at 1 teaching module with 1 experiment, 1 piece of homework, 1 adventure, 1 mission to go and complete, and then jump on a group coaching call, which will be every Thursday between 6 and 7, where I'll coach people one-on-one around some of their business challenges that they're struggling with, to give them some ideas and opportunities so they can explore things. So also, I'm going to have a private Facebook group as well for sort of interaction, engaging and stuff like that. So what's in it? So these are the sort of 7 areas. I sort of talked about that white space. And that white space is really about your identity and your brand. You know, all these great businesses that we talked about have a very clear business identity, and that's coming from sort of like that owner. So with nothing like Steve Jobs and people like that, it's very, very clear that that's the kernel of the business, really. It all starts with who you are at your core, especially if it's a business which is going to resonate with other people as well. It's got to have that sort of backstory. So what we always talk about, you know, who you are, the truth of who you are, what's really important to you, and who you know, what's authentically true for you and your own powerful sort of story. And then look how you bring that into your business. And this is really important because that's where some of the energy is coming from. If it doesn't feel like it's authentically you, it's just going to drain you. So that's what we're doing in that sort of space. This is the value proposition. As I said earlier, the value is about creating something for someone. And what we're really doing here is really joining these 2 things together. So making sure you're very, very clear about your value proposition, who it's for, and then getting it pitched and packaged so it feels really, really solid. And this is an absolute game changer, I found, for business owners, because they feel so much better. So that when they're having conversations with people, they just show up differently as well. So it's really good. Next one is about money. Just getting everybody really, really comfortable about what it is that they're offering and how much it's really worth. You know, is it water in the desert or not? You know, and then showing you how to ask for it without being pushy, then how to handle rejections, and predominantly not getting paid by the hour, which is a real stumbling block for business owners. And then I'm going to talk about how you stand out. So using all the building blocks and who you really are in your authentic story, so you can really stand out. Essentially, we want to make you not be an apple comparison, but we want to turn you into an orange, because you can charge more and you're more profitable if you're an orange and an apple. And then we talk about, well, credibility and awareness. So getting your product and your service out there in a way that resonates with people. We're going to talk about networking and marketing and endorsements and all kinds of ways to connect and engage customers, but in a way which is authentically you. And that's the main thing here, making sure that it's working in the way that you work and you operate. And that sort of lends itself into building that growth platform, because most of us are in business because we want a life. Yet most of us find that we can end up just working more and more hours than we did if we'd have had a job. And I read something recently where on average, people would be financially better off just having jobs rather than running a business. And a lot of it comes down to just not having a growth system and not understanding how to leverage all these 9 building blocks so that you don't become a single point of excellence in your own business there. And the last one is just about getting out of your own way. A lot of the time we tell ourselves it's about our product and our service, our segmentation, but a lot of the time it's a story we're telling ourselves about ourselves and what's in our heads, and feeling like an imposter and not knowing how to do things like manage our time and things like that. So that's the 7 areas we're going to cover in there. What's included in this package? I got a really awesome welcome pack, which really starts to surface some things which are deep within you, but then starts to getting you realizations and transformations straight as soon as you start sort of completing that. I've also got some hypnotic MP3s to listen to, and you get lifelong access to the content, which is in my clients area as well. So 7 weeks of group coaching, a private Facebook group. I've also got, it says 60 minutes there, but my emotional intelligence masterclass it's actually 75 minutes long, and we cover all kinds of stuff around emotional intelligence there, from how you're showing up to how you're interacting with others and your ideas around optimism and things like that. It's really powerful stuff. And then I got a powerful one-to-one coaching session for everybody. And my suggestion is that people leave that right to the end or towards the end of the sort of workshop so they can get the most out of that. Now, if this is just some buff about me, but you two know about me already, that's just making me look good. And then if I was going to put this on for one-on-one for somebody, I'd be charging a business owner £4,500. I'm putting it out there for people at 600 to make it really accessible for business owners that want to sort of do something different in this space. Because being a business owner, I know that it can be really difficult around that initial investment and sort of investing in your business. So I wanted to find that nice sweet spot, which felt, I think reasonable. The thing, my thinking is, if you're not willing to invest £600 in yourself and in your business, you really have a challenge for your future and your business in that space. So if people want to go ahead, they can go ahead there and book it straight away. But what I'm also putting out there, if people are unsure, is to put a 15-minute discussion together. So you can just go on straight to my calendar online and actually just find a slot and we'll have a chat. So if people do want to do that, they can do that as well. And there's no interest in for anyone. It's literally to see whether or not they're going to get the most out. My gut feel is that 80% of people will probably get a lot out of this if you're a business owner from what I'm doing, but there'll be some within the 20% too. So I'll stop that sharing and I'll whack that link into the chat because there's no link to it yet. So if you're interested in that, or somebody is interested, you can have that as well. We'll drop an email around just to let you know more details about this and say thank you, and they'll have the link in there as well. But that's it for now, and we have 2 minutes to spare, which I'm very impressed with myself, I have to say. So that's it. Thank you very much. I'll catch you guys soon. Cheers, bye.
Awesome. Cheers, Robin.
Cheers.
so good.
Awesome. Thank you.
You didn't even rattle through. It didn't feel rushed.
No. Yeah,
Considering there's
at one point I thought it was rushing.
No. There was no. It was very well paced. It was considered. The examples you give are fantastic in terms of making you kind of think beyond business stuff and into, okay, if you're a cook and you've got the ingredients and you don't cook them, you're a greengrocer. I mean, that's just such a superb analogy for anybody to go, oh God, yeah, of course. If I'm not doing something fundamental with the things I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's a bit of a very welcome slap in the face, I think, for people.
Yeah, I was hoping, because sometimes the examples or the metaphors, I think, just make it really easy and accessible to get your head around a complex idea. That's why I use the menu and the waiter analogy as well. Thank you for the feedback on that. So
that analogy is brilliant as well, because it helps people realize that they need to get comfortable with that conversation. And I think probably, if not the biggest blocker will be for business owners, is having the money conversation beyond anything else. So for you to kind of go, oh, actually, no, well, the waiters feel really comfortable going to 30 quid for the lobster bisque, and it's not, it's a great analogy, because you can go, actually, no, I can get myself out of the sales mindset and into I'm helping somebody make a very valuable decision with the resources and the money they have, and whether or not that's going to be an appropriate thing for them to have to help and support them, as opposed to I'm selling you something.
Yeah, and for me, that's where people get uncomfortable. They feel like they are flogging something to somebody that they don't really want, that they don't want it. So cool. Anything else?
Don't think so. No, it was really, the slides look great. The flow was really good. Anything to improve on? They didn't open the thing beforehand. They didn't open the pre-work.
No.
So it went in one of the follow-up emails, and they didn't follow the follow-up email. So that's interesting. So how can we make that easier for people? Perhaps that could be a send out after situation instead. If they haven't done it, we could send afterwards and go like a completed one.
Yeah, okay, that's not a bad idea.
So the one you've got on the end and on the slides.
Yeah.
I think sending that and go, these are the 9 principles we talked about and how they fit together.
Yes. That's a good idea. Yeah, I could do that one. That's easy enough. Smashing. Do you know how, I've got to go because I've got a meeting tally actually for our coaching session now. Do you know if there's anybody booked on Thursday?
Nobody yet, no. The next ones, we've got 2 people on the following Monday.
Right, okay. I'll if you come up with any ideas for drumming up any more stuff other than what we're doing, I'm going to put some on the life coach directory. And
brilliant.
Something else.
And has Sam got the stuff out on LinkedIn?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I'll do the Profit Powerhouse as well, just to remind the guys. Smashing.
I mean, if they joined it on Thursday or Monday, that would be even better, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If they came.
Yeah, I'll drop them a personal message and just say it'd be awesome to join you on this one and stuff like that. Give you more, you'll find it useful anyway, but it'll give you more of an idea what I'm doing anyway in that space. So which will help you, help me as well. Plus, bring your friends. Yeah, right.
Friends.
Yeah, smashing. Right, I have to go. All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, take care.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.